Thank you, Gilbert, to come here today on this platform, Leaders and Strategists. The idea is to have just a nice discussion about you, your research, and maybe your different projects in which you're involved. You're an assistant professor at HEC Montreal in international business.
Yes.
And you have a very inspiring story from a little village in Ghana to Norway. Can you walk us through that story a little bit?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a ride. Originally come from Ghana, a small village. The village actually got electricity in 2012. So now we have electricity now. After high school, or at that time they call it secondary school, I got a scholarship to study in Norway. And once I was there, I was interested in federal education in Norway, mainly because the education in Norway was free compared to Ghana. So I applied to a couple of schools and I got admitted to one of the programs. I did my bachelor's there. Then I got another scholarship to the Norwegian Business School. So I joined the Norwegian Business School. I did my master's. Then I got another scholarship. So I did a double degree in Germany at Mannheim Business School. And I was lucky. After that, during the time of writing my master's thesis, I got a job in the process. And I continued working. And one day, the CEO called me and told me that I think you'll be a very good lawyer. So I studied law. In the middle of that, I decided to do international relations because I wanted to maybe perhaps go into politics at some point. So I did that. I got the opportunity to work a bit at the United Nations with the Ghana mission there. But whilst in the UN, then I found the interest to do more academic studies, mainly because I felt that we needed more academics within the group that we were there. So I went back to Norway to continue on my studies and I did a PhD. And after my PhD, I came to HEC as an assistant professor.
Congratulations, it's a very interesting path.
Yeah, thank you.
You mentioned that you are an assistant prof today.
Yes.
And you do research on impact investing in developing countries.
Yes.
And I found a very interesting quote in one of your publications where you say that developing country presents some of the most exciting investment opportunity. Can you explain us a little bit how is it the case and why is your research important?
That statement, I truly do believe it, that developing countries, particularly countries in Africa, present some of the most exciting investment opportunities at the moment. Take from, for example, even just interest rate on your savings, for example. We're talking about in the high ends of 30%. There's nowhere on the planet you can find that. So these are in African countries you can have that. And most things that are taken for granted in the West, for example, are not there. So for example, if you want to open a coffee shop, that idea of having a coffee chain doesn't exist. So you don't need necessarily to be even a creative. You can pick a business model that already has been proven and tested, knows that it does work, and be able to implement it there because the demand is there, the population is there. However, the challenges are also there. So there are huge opportunities there in the sense of huge untapped markets with existing business models that we know already works that can be implemented. And there's a huge upside potential in terms of returns that you can make.
Okay. And I also know that you recently published a very interesting paper in Strategic Management Journal. Just so to let you know, guys, this is one of the top journals in the area of strategy. And it's very, very, I think it's had like less than 4% acceptance rate. Yep. So congratulations on that. Can you speak into that a little bit about that article and what it is about?
Yes. So that article actually comes from my PhD studies. It's the third paper in my dissertation. And it's inspired by my work during the UN stay. I found out of the idea of relationship between countries and how that actually affects firms. The literature has in the past spoke of the idea that, well, if countries are friends, firms do better. However, we found out that, or we thought that this is, well, while that is true, we should not take for granted that diplomatic relations just once it's established, it stays like that. So diplomatic relations do change. And what we found is that, yes, that volatility actually has a negative effect on companies actually investing in that country.
And you also work on impact investing.
Yeah.
Can you explain what it is and how it can be interesting today for developing countries?
Yeah, so impact investing is the idea that investors purposefully, and the key word is purposefully, investors actually focus on doing investment to achieve not just profit, but also social or environmental outcome. And what we find is that, the presence of impact investors in the country increases the chances of formalization by 17.2%. That is very, very big.
And from your understanding, is it important to actually, for a business to actually formalize? Because we had a discussion with Rob Nason, which is a professor at McGill, and he told us that actually informal economy is also a vibrant economy, and we definitely need to look into that with different tools and be able to identify growth within that informal economy. But from your perspective, do you think that we need to transition most of the developing country economy into a formal one, or is there any interest into keeping it informal?
Well, I'm aware of Rob's work, and I do agree with him that informal economy is a vibrant economy and is something that is going to persist for some time. But if we want countries to develop, to grow, we want governments to be able to finance social programs. We want workers to receive the best of protection, not to the mercy of the entrepreneur, but actually laws govern those things. Then we need to shift most of the economy into a formal sector.
And you're an investor yourself. I've seen that you either co-founded or founded several venture capital individuals. Can you speak a little bit into that? How do you came about doing that? And because it's quite rare for academics to also be involved in like directly into investing. How do you come about it?
I came to this actually by accident.
Okay.
Because when I started my PhD, a colleague introduced me to another person that he knew, his friend, who wanted to found an accelerator in Africa.
Okay.
The idea was simple. Let's look at the Y Combinators or the incubators and accelerator models that works here. Let's copy the ideas and implement them in Africa. So we both do fundraising as well as incubating of ideas.
Okay.
So I was brought in as a co-founder. So as a lawyer, I became the chief legal officer. I was the CFO. I did all the due diligence, the selection of the startups. That was my first experience. And that startup is still ongoing. It's called Pangaea Accelerator. Okay. It's located in Kenya now. We have a good collaboration with Strathmore University, and it's doing fantastic there.
And from your experience, because you vet ideas, what is the percentage between like the idea in itself and the person who actually has that idea, the background, the experience that he has? How are you able to manage and balance between the two and be able to come up with like, this is the right person to carry out this idea and I'm willing to put my money on it?
No, there's no doubt. It's most importantly the person. From my experience, the majority, and even in my own startups, most of the idea that we start with, before we get to market, the idea has changed completely. It's like writing a paper. The initial idea and then the revision process, by the time it gets published, the paper looks different that. So it's usually the person. So what we're looking for most of the time is we're looking for passion, somebody who is passionate, but also passion has to have some basis. So the person has to have either some solid experience or some solid training or some solid education.
From your experience as a venture capitalist, what advice will you give to a young entrepreneur looking for some capital on the market in general? What would be the best way or the best roadmap to actually, from having an idea and having a successful enterprise which has received a lot of funds from different capitalists?
That's a very interesting question, because there's a lot of actual research about that, and there's no one size fits all. Different entrepreneurs does a different way. But my advice would be, the first thing I would suggest for that person to do is to look around and make sure that they have a team or a mentor to make sure to challenge them, to validate the idea that actually there's something there. Once that is in place, I would recommend that they join an accelerator or an incubator. You get to know like-minded people doing the same thing, and venture capitalists like us look into those places. That's where we come in to look for entrepreneurs. So you will meet them there, and then you get to present your ideas to them. And if they think the idea has a potential, they can actually work with you to go through that. That is one way to go. Another way is, if the idea is solid, you really believe in it, you talk to your friends and family and let them give you money to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that has been the traditional way.
And what about like the business plan that you need to write, the pitch, all those tools that you need to develop to actually...
Yeah, and usually people, and sometimes that's one of the things I get frustrated with as an academic who also does this investment. Academics usually use these words and it scares away young people. Oh, do I have to write a business plan? What is it? It's actually not more than a 12-slide document. You tell her, this is the problem I want to solve. This is why this problem is important. This is my solution. Can I make a business out of it? Yes. This is how I will make a business out of it. How big can this get? This is how big it gets. And you have some numbers to show us. That's it.
Okay.
So it's nothing like, elaborate documents. It's pretty much you explaining, I have an idea, I think I can build a successful business out of it. This is how big the business can be. And I am, or me and my team, are the right people to make it happen.
And yeah, to wrap up a little bit the discussion, you have this very inspiring journey, and as an academic and as an entrepreneur as well. But when you look into the future, do you have like a personal goal that you want to achieve, or a legacy you want to impart to the next generation?
No. Legacy is a very big word. As a kid from a village that got electricity just in 2012, but I have a wish. If I can contribute to that, I will really appreciate that. I will really be happy. And the idea is, and it's simple, and that's something actually you can help with.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear about it.
No, because I want to see one of the top business schools in the world be an African business school. Africa is half of the world population now, almost. If you look at, for example, the Financial Times top 100 business school, 0 comes from the continent. And it's not because we don't have the people. People like you, myself, we have, the list goes on and on. So my wish is maybe one day start a business school on the continent. And the reason is this. I think that if we want to build countries in Africa, if we want to develop them, we need business-savvy people to run the projects, to start the businesses, to manage them, and to be able to train them well, to be able to do that. I think it's a recipe for the success of the countries in that sense. And if I'm able to contribute to lay the foundation for such an institution to solve this problem, I think I'll be very happy with my life.
Thank you very much, Gilbert. And I'm more than willing to actually engage in that project if you have anything specific that I can do.
Yeah, we've started. We made some baby steps. So now we actually have it only exists online, doesn't it? So we actually have a name registered.
Oh, wow.
It's called ASMT.
ASMT.
So if you go on LinkedIn or Facebook, it's actually there. We have a couple of hundreds of followers there. And so far we just share scholarship opportunities to people who want to study abroad. As an academic, I get all these emails with the PhD position, and then I just post the link there for people to get exposed to them, because they don't have the same inbox as I have. So I share those things there. But the idea is to start a technology and management business school on the continent. And I think that would be good.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Thank you very much, Gilbert. Thank you once again for attending this discussion and be willing to share some of your research, some of your experience as an entrepreneur and as a venture capitalist as well. And thank you for this legacy. I really hope and wish that this could come out of the ground and be as successful as you wish it to be. I think it will be a very great step moving forward for the whole continent.
I hope so too. And thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Really, really enjoyed our conversation. Okay. And please, do let me know if there's anything I could help with. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you very much, Gilbert. Have a very nice day.